everyone, I'm Rachel. What we're going to do today is learn how to light up hood deco buildings like you see in my background picture here, so that when you hit the L button in your hood view, it pops up and everything's lit up beautifully. So as I said before, in my workshop thread, I have some deco buildings that don't have light up states I'm going to use as an example today. And I also have some TXMT imports I'm going to use. They're just there for ease of use. And I also have the original tutorial credited by Criquette, which was how to do light up buildings. It explains more about that in that tutorial. So let's go to the Lotties. Lottie Sims 2. Lottie did some exports from city skylines, neighborhood decorations. So here's like some school ones right here. They don't have light up states, but basically what we're going to do is open the package for one of these and create a night version with the lights. And so you will need SimPe to do this, and you will need some kind of photo editing program because we have to color in the lights ourselves on the texture that we extract. So that's where you can download that. There's plenty of them to choose from. They did a lot. So I downloaded some of the academic ones for this. So I'm going to quit that and I'm going to open my SimPe. So I have already opened the Lot City Skylines Trade School Gymnasium. That's not one I've done yet. And so when you open it, here's your SimPe options over here. What we're going to do first is make a night state of the GMDC. And I apologize if I don't sound like I know what I'm talking about. This was kind of just steps that I've learned and maybe don't have so much knowledge behind what they do. I know Jason probably has way more knowledge on that. But you see they have one of these materials. And so we're just going to copy it by exporting. And you don't have to name anything. I just export it and I save. And then you come back and import it. And that's the file right there. And open. And to make it a night state, I'm going to rename it and add a hyphen night. So this will be the material for the night. And I'm going to commit and say OK. So next, I'm going to come down to the shape because you need a night version of this. So here's your regular day version. I'm going to click add. And I'm going to, again, just do a hyphen night and a hyphen night. And commit. So yeah, just to recap, you go into your GDMC, make a night state, and then you go into your shape, make a night state. And then it doesn't really matter, like this order is kind of, it doesn't matter what order you do this in. I'm gonna go to texture. So this is the day, this is your one texture. It has, oh, these windows. These might be a little tricky, but we'll do it, we'll get it. Export the texture. Because we're going to open that texture in Photoshop and make it a night state. But also while you're in here, you can clone this, and again, you want to add night to it, but not after the texture. You want to keep the TXTR on the end. So I'm just going to push night and underscore there just to differentiate it. So now we go into Photoshop.
Beatrice Crumplebottom is asking, when I try to import the thing, the OK button is grayed out.
Import Oh,
I've
okay.
got this one. I've got it.
Oh, okay. Jason,
Okay,
I'll
so
explain.
in Beatrice, in your SimPE, go to Extra, Preferences, and then go to SimPE Settings, and make sure that Advanced Mode is checked.
I need to find where I put this. Oh, desktop. Okay. So here's my texture. So I'm okay. So I know the blue things are windows, and I think the gray things are just the facade panels. So what I'm gonna do is gonna try to just color in the blue things, like the things that look like windows. So I'm gonna make a new layer, and I'm just going to do this whole row or column, and then find kind of whatever color of light you want. You know, you could do orange or like a light yellow. I'm gonna find like a light yellow and fill it. And make sure that lines up. Now I'm going to do lower the opacity so I can see below it. And I'm just going to take out like the middle parts. So I don't have to like do individual squares. So I just kind of do that and then take out the gaps. And you can do that by taking your select tool. And you can do multiple by pressing shift as you do this. So you don't have to do one at a time. So you see if I take that back up, now it doesn't have the whole yellow. I'm just doing the windows. And I'm just going to keep doing that with this layer.
Is your Photoshop 2019?
Mine's 2022, I think.
Oh, okay. They're
But you should be able to,
similar.
yeah, you should still be able to select multiple areas with the select tool by pressing shift while you do it. That's been a feature of Photoshop for a very long time. All right. And I don't know what this is, but it looks like, oh, it says gym, maybe. It's like gym, but not gym. I'm gonna fill that one in too. So I have all this selected. I can actually fill all of them. And these are a little bit more complex, I guess. But if you have a more simple object, it might not take as long to do. Where's my alt? So if you ever like if you can see here, let me zoom in. You see how I have this selected, but there's some blue there I don't want to select. If you have your select tool and you push alt, instead of the plus, you get the minus, so I can just take that part out like that. There. So there, I just got rid of that. And if you want to unselect anything, you can do a Control D. That's like deselect. So I'm just dropping some hot tips for Photoshop while I do this, because that might be useful in more than just this kind of tutorial, like if you're like recoloring clothes or anything. And I don't know if you want me to do all of this or just do a part of it and show you how it looks, like work in progress style.
Go for it. Well, because I mean, you're probably going to
Yeah.
have to go
I
back and edit it after you're done,
yeah,
regardless. So,
yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
just knock the whole thing out.
Let's do this a little bit smarter. So I'm gonna do shift, and then a minus. Woohoo! There, now I have that. So I'm gonna use shift to select all of these boxes. And then I'm gonna use alt to get rid of the middle. Like that. Nice. And it's not perfect, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, if you're like really into perfection, then yeah, you can take the time to make sure like it's lined up exactly. Basically everything that's more yellowy is what I'm deleting out because those are the frames. I'll do that again where I'm gonna do a shift select on all three of these long panels here. And then an alt select to get rid of the middle parts. So I don't delete those out. Let's see, any other yellows? This panel right here. I'm just gonna select that whole thing. And then use alt select again to get rid of the middle pieces. So that's a little too much. So I'm going to shift select, or no, alt select to get the rest of that. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And get rid of these bars. Now, don't press shift as you're doing it, otherwise it tries to make it like a perfect square. Okay, anything else? Oh yeah, there's stuff on this side over here. Gonna use H, keyboard H to get the hand tool, slide over there. Looks like there's a thin bar right here, just to get rid of. Oh, and then the gem. Okay, so this one I'm not gonna use the select tool. What I'm gonna do is use the eraser tool and just go for a hard, small eraser here. And just kind of freehand it. Hopefully the building you pick doesn't have this kind of organic shape, because that's a little bit trickier. Shop elements. Does it the select tool doesn't have a multiple select when you push shift on the yeah.
I usually just give up on the tool and figure out another way to do it.
Yeah, that would be it should have that. It's such a like a staple of like selects. I'd be surprised if there wasn't something comparable to it. Especially if it is a Photoshop product.
I've never used elements. Maybe that's more limited. I'm not sure.
Possibly. Okay, that's my whack attempt to do organic. Gym, not gym.
Yeah. Elements is a really low end, like bargain basement suite.
Oh, yeah.
It has just the essential tools. It's just
It came with a printer. Like when I bought my first printer 20 years ago, it came with it. So
why not use the polygonal lasso? Well, I wasn't really selecting. I don't know.
That would only give you straight lines, so it wouldn't give you.
Yeah, it's not like selecting the whole thing. I was just erasing out.
The pen tool?
I could use the pen tool.
I hate the pen tool. I never use it.
I'm much more used to the pen tool in Illustrator, but yeah, the pen tool could do it.
I think just for the wonky shape, your eraser is probably the best choice.
Oh yeah.
So now these are lit up. I'm gonna put this back to full opacity. Now this might look a little stark in your neighborhood, so what I like to do is mess with the blending layers and see if I can do something there. Like screen, it gives it like a nice lighter color overlay, not so much. Overlay is gonna show the blue. So I'm gonna go to screen, and then I'm going to do a filter. There's a under blur, there's a Gaussian blur. It kind of gives it like a nice like glow. And you can mess with that. You can make it super glowy, but not. I don't suggest that. Just like maybe like a between a 1 and 2, so it has like this nice kind of glow effect. Or I mean, there's glow effect in here too. I've never used the inner glow. Yeah, I don't use that. You could mess with that too. That's, there's a million different ways to skin a cat type of deal. And then
Yeah, but that glow, the glow that you would add through the effects layer probably wouldn't give it the same. I think you're better off with the Gaussian blur because the glow is just not the right kind of glow for those lights.
Gotcha. I mean, I've never personally done it. It just kind of popped into my mind because like the last time I did a workshop, there was the photo the there was something, it was more easier done under that layer effect. So it's like maybe you can.
No, I mean that glow specifically, it's cool if you're doing letter effects.
Mhm.
Like I use it for occasionally for my title cards, like if I want something, like a really cool kind of neon effect,
Mhm.
but for this application it's probably not very good.
Gotcha. That's good to know. Good to note. All right, so you have your lights, but I noticed, and this depends on the lighting mod you have. I don't have a lighting mod, so my night is just naturally blue looking. I know some people can't stand that, so they have lighting mods. So I guess this part is just supplemental. But I would suggest putting on a what are these even called? Why don't I know what these are called? New fill or adjustment layer. Adjustment layer. And then I'll add an adjustment layer over it and kind of skew it blue, just for that's the way it does on my nights personally. And then I'll add another one for brightness and contrast, and I want to like take the brightness down because it is dark. You can change the contrast too if you want. But yeah, so this is more like a nighttime texture when you add the blue and darken it with these adjustment layers. You can do it through, what is it, effects. Why don't I know my Photoshop? This is really embarrassing. I'm sorry. Well, there's a way to do it in the menu, but I prefer these because this covers all layers it stands above instead of just doing it on a layer by layer basis. So I'm fine with this. I think this is good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and export it as whatever it kind of imported as. I guess it's a JPEG. I'm going to export it and put it in here and name it dash night. So I know that's the one I want to use. All right, going back to SimPe, we're still over here in the TXTR, the texture section, and we have this night one right here we cloned. So I forgot to mention this, but if you're recoloring anything in SimPe, you're going to want the DDS utilities. If you don't have that, you need to go get that. I can put a link in the Photoshop, or sorry, not the Photoshop, the thread of the workshop to get that, because what you're going to want to do right here is build DXT, and that is grayed out if you don't have that installed in your SimPe. So we're going to leave it on DTX3. I just usually leave this as is on these imported textures, but I will take the sharpen to none, and then I'm going to open the night texture and build it. And so what this does, it's really cool. It just builds like all of these, all of these. So now I have my night texture with its actual texture of being night. I'm going to commit that. I don't know what paint.net is, but that is an opinion, yes. Okay. All right. So now, the fun part. We're going to go to the TXMTs, and there's only one. But what we're going to do is we're going to import that package that has day and night states. And it's on my desktop. And I'll have to do all files. This thing, it has a day and a night state right here. So Windows day and Windows night. These were extracted from Criquette's tutorial item. So basically the day one, we're just replacing all the information from the current gymnasium state into the day. So that includes this line, which is your base texture name. We're gonna paste that into here. And then I'm gonna take anything after the exclamation point, which is Lottie, trade school, etc., etc. I'm gonna copy that and put it down here in the text material line as second from the bottom. So I'm just gonna replace that whole line with the same thing. So right now in the properties you have this and this, which are the same thing except for this one has the, Jason, what are these called? Like the hex thing? Like, I don't know what this beginning part is, but you basically need it there.
So, well, yeah, it's essentially group ID.
Okay, the group ID. So yeah, that stays there. And then in C, material definition, I'm gonna paste that as well. So all three of those areas are the same. I'm gonna commit. And you can do this. There's many different ways to do this. You can like copy it into Notepad, but I don't deal with that. I just go back in to the main one. So I've copied this. I've copied the matte base texture name, and it doesn't have this state, right? Because it doesn't have the whatever. I'm not exactly sure, but there was 2 lines that Criquette added, and I don't like adding them because I tried this before. I've tried adding them manually and it just doesn't work. So that's why I import the actual files and just kind of replace them like this.
Yeah, if you have a material that's already working, it's easier to replace the texture name value in the material than it is to add the new values to the old TXMT. Making things multi-state is kind of difficult. I was going to ask, do you also change in the file name tab as well?
Yeah, I'm this is the second part I'm doing. So I go back to the night and I grab everything like everything up to the underscore texture. I copy that from, or sorry, excuse me, we're doing the daytime texture. I'm not doing the night one. I'm doing this one because I'm copying basically everything from this. So, and I could have copied it from here too, but there's many different ways to do this. So I'm going into the day file list, and everything after the exclamation point I'm pasting. This is that texture, the txtr name for the daytime state. And I thought there was one more place I need to do this. Oh no, I need to do it here. Oh wow, I bungled this up. I'm sorry. I haven't done this for like 2 weeks. Okay, I'm going to edit that part out because that was wrong. Don't believe me when I said that. So the texture name, right? So this is the daytime state. Your texture name. Sorry, I just confused myself. This is the texture name right here. So if we go to here, right, the Lottie Trade School Gymnasium NH Test Cliff is the same in the file list right here, and it's the same right here. So that's where we're copying that to. Do you ever have that thing where you try to explain something, it gets more complicated than if you just do it? Because you like just know how to do it, and you're like, now I'm confusing myself. Okay. I'm just making sure this is all the texture name. So these two lines in properties and the file list need the texture name. Now, this is something I haven't come across before, but in the original file list, there's this base boulder bump. That's not in the other one. So would I need to put that in there, do you think, Jason?
Sorry, the bump?
Yeah, this a lot of trade
I
schools use
don't.
base boulder bump. Like
You
it's
don't need it because you don't have a bump map.
okay. I just didn't. Yeah, I've never come across it before. Usually, it lines up, but so that's not important, I guess, in the day state. This is really the only
It's
important
not.
thing.
If the building, yeah, if it's not bump mapped and it doesn't have the bump enabled, then
Yeah, I don't think it
you
does.
you don't need it.
Okay,
It's just extra texture that
that's just
doesn't really have a
hanging out.
purpose. Yeah,
It's like hitching a ride. Okay,
yeah.
so this is where I'm going to name this the same and make sure it's like that. So this, the file name can also be the description. I'm sorry if this is really confusing. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead
No,
and
I mean,
delete
I don't
that.
speak for everyone, but no, I mean, this is pretty basic stuff so far. It's just adding and cloning
Mm-hmm.
subsets.
Okay, so we've copied all the regular information into the day state and basically replaced that entirely, cloned it. So now we're just going to do the thing to the night state, and we're just going to add all that information, like the dash night that I did before to it. So I'm just going to take this information, again, the name like that, and in here. And then with this one, again, this is where the texture name is. We're adding it into here and just adding that night. Into both those areas. Actually, I could just copy this. That's more efficient. Everything after the exclamation point and paste that in. So now it should line up. I'm just going to go back and check my texture. My texture has an underscore. So if I run the scenograph right now, it's going to say something's messed up because this texture is an underscore night. And in my TeamXT for the night state, it is a hyphen. So I'm going to go.
Generally, a multi-state for the texture name, it should be a hyphen.
It should. Okay, well then
Yes.
instead of changing that to match the texture, I'm going to go back to the texture and do a hyphen like that. So now that should match. I'm going to save. I'm going to run it object tools fix integrity because there's a lot of integrity that needs fixing. Hit update and OK and save. And now we're going to run the scenographer. And I am crossing my fingers I did this right because I confused myself while I was doing this and talking about it rather than just doing it. All right, so it's all hooked up.
Yay!
The scenographer, it
You
will
got it
like
right.
yeah, I did. I got it right. That's kind of a miracle because I haven't done this in a couple weeks and I usually run into that issue. So, yay, we have this trade school. It's ready to be tested. So I'm going to X out of these. And if you're doing multiple of these, I suggest saving this as a template, because what you can do is when you open the other textures, you can bring over those adjustment layers so that they're all consistent between your buildings. So I'm gonna
Oh,
say
you just drag the adjustment
Mhm.
layers onto
your
on
next.
top of the other building textures.
Yep, and
That's a cool idea.
that's a way to keep the blue and the darkness to do that. Before I do this, I'm gonna actually go grab that gymnasium and put it in my downloads folder, so I don't have to have you watch my game load and then nothing happens. All right, so I'm gonna copy this and put it in my big ass downloads folder.
But is it already enabled for multi-state, or does that not need to be done?
What do you mean multi-state, like with snow or stuff?
No, I mean day and night. Like is there already an existing behave that toggles between day and night, or
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. Like I don't know what I don't know a lot about beehives, but basically what we just did, we added a night state, so when I go in game and I place this object, if I toggle it to night, it'll light up. So if there's a beehive, I don't know if that's in the imported TMXT, like I'm not sure.
no? It will be an actual behave, because I mean, unless it's just like a default global thing that all neighborhood objects change state during the night, unless they don't have the night state enabled.
I've never had to do anything with behaves on these, so it might be a global thing. I've never
Yeah, I
touched.
mean, it's usually just like a standard change material call or refresh graphics. I mean, like in this one, it would be refresh graphics because you have essentially a day building and a night building, and it's only capable of showing one of those. But see, there has to be something in the behaves that lets it know, okay, hey, it's day now, so display this material, or hey, it's night now, display this material.
So there was, and I don't know if these are behaves. Again, I'm not really familiar exactly with those things, but in that TMXT, and you can correct me if this is like totally off base, those TMXTs that we imported, those lines were added into the properties list. I don't know if that does anything, or you're just talking about the general, like, are you talking about the general behave area in like the package file?
Yeah, I mean, it should have. How can I explain it to you? If you have a multi-state or something like in the object menu that allows the sim to change the material, you would need a behave to control that.
I don't know if it's the same with hood deco.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because Sims don't
I'd like
control anything
to.
with that, but
I don't know a whole lot about how hood deco is put together, but it seems like either there's a global.
I think there's a global. There must be a
I think that's the
global.
case too.
Because I've never had to touch beehives.
Right. If all you're doing is adding the scene graph resources, then there must be something that controls that. It's interesting. I'll do more
Food for
research
thought.
on it, definitely.
Beatrice says, would the global behave be global/behave be built into the game for neighborhood objects, since Nightlife at least had the day-night shift with some objects?
Yes, if it's a global, it's in the game files. If it's a global, it's saying all objects from this group behave this way. So for all neighborhood objects, there would be a change material call that is triggered when it switches from day to night.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I do too.
Alright, we're gonna go into my downtown and go find this and place it and see if it lit up. It should have lit up. The scenographer hinted that it would light up. So, and I already have it at night, so I can just pull this out and place it. This should be think she had hers in here. So here's the gymnasium. It's lit up.
How about that?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that looks great.
Yeah. So there's all the little windows lit up.
Where's the gym sign?
Yeah, where's the gym sign? What? Did I do that for nothing? Maybe it wasn't a part of the actual building. I don't
Yeah, it
know.
might have been an unused part of the map or something.
It might have, yeah. I see a little
What's that
power
little?
box. This was up in the
What?
top left corner. It's like a little power box. I didn't light that up.
Can you switch to day right quick?
Yeah. So this is the day. The day state. The regular texture that we did.
Okay, that's interesting.
So yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so you can read more in that. Criquette gets into some technical explanations on why that works, because yeah, this is what that workshop is based off, that tutorial by Criquette. Yeah, I don't see the gym sign, so I did that for nothing, but just as well, it was kind of not the best.
Oh, it looks neat.
Yeah. So, and yeah, you can like mess with the lights. Again, this is like Gaussian blur on a screen blending layer, so it's kind of, I don't know, I think it looks natural than just a solid flood fill bright yellow. And so that's what I did with all these buildings too. Although I need to go in on some of these because some of them look really bright. I don't think they got dark enough. Like those are like really bright. If I put those in like the middle of like a town that's not full of like a city, then they will look off. But yeah. And I did.
Or you could
Hmm.
if you don't want to mess with the texture, you can crank down the
reflectivity, I think.
no, the goodness, what's the name of it? On your categorized properties, you crank down the differential coefficient.
Can you say that again? The differential what?
The differential coefficient. So
Oh.
from categorized properties in the default texture section, there are two. Well, it might be different for lit because I'm looking at unlit, but there are two together. One is the differential coefficient, and one is the emissive coefficient. They're basically inner and outer glow.
Oh.
So if you crank down that differential coefficient to 150, 150, 150, it's going to be a lot darker.
Catherine says, can you have some windows brighter than others? It's all in how you shade, recolor it, right? Beatrice says, I would think so. Digi says, yeah, I think it would work if you just made some windows brighter or dimmer.
Yeah, so for example, if we go in here and so there's a lot of repeating happening too. So like these three, you know, there was like this whole like row of windows. So you gotta be careful with that because it'll look, I don't know if it will bug you, but it'll be very patternistic, like bright light, dim light, bright light, dim light, bright light, dim light. Like it'll be like that. And so it just depends if that'll bug you or not. But like for example, we can go in and I can go, I don't know, erase at, I don't know, 50 or 40, come erase like not that much, that's too much, like that there, that's a little bit dimmer. If you go in and do like different, right, you can re-export that into your texture for the night texture. And there's other ways you can do this, I'm just erasing it. But you see, okay, so we dimmed those lights. If you export as, I'm going to do a night to reopen that package. One window with a, oh yeah, we could do that too. A red room for, wait, do dark rooms have windows? I thought those were like blocked off because you don't want light in the dark room.
As far as I know, they're blocked off because you don't want you don't want any exposure at all except the little lamps that you would expose the photo paper with.
You could make different colored lights too if you wanted. I've seen buildings like that with some like blue lights.
Yeah, and they're not. They might not be uniformly on. You might have like one office where they went home for the night and the light is out. Yeah.
Like we'll try that just to see the changes. I can show you the changes. All right. Excuse me while my game sasses me really quick. See, it sasses me. Mine does this. I know I was talking to Jeannie about this. I don't know why it does that on the new one. You have to like reopen a package twice before it lets you. I don't know if that's a setting or what. But yeah, so we'll come in here, just build it again, what was exported. And take that to none and build. So now you can see light off, reddish light, dimmer lights, commit, and save. I'm not saving that.
I wonder if this is something you could preview your recolor with UV Mapper instead of having to load the game every single time you make a change.
Oh yeah, I could do that.
I don't know if you. I don't know if anyone's seen. Oh.
What were you saying?
I don't know if any of you have seen my tutorial on how to preview recolors with UV Mapper.
Oh, I know you did that tutorial on that. I haven't done that yet, but so you're saying that's just the easy way to look at recolors without loading the game. Yeah.
Right.
You already.
I don't think since there's it has a mesh, right? The Hood Deco has a mesh, so you would just have to export the mesh as an OBJ, and then you can open that up in UV Mapper and load your texture on it, like you do with any other object, like a Deco object or clothes. Even you can do that too.
Or even Milkshape. Milkshape has that same feature.
How would you export it in SimPe as a OBJD?
You already did when you export it, when you went to the GMDC to export the building to re-import it as the night state.
Okay, so that's the object file you can put in. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that does seem more efficient than loading up the game. This is all I've ever known. I'm sorry. I'll have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like. For example, the time that you spent on the gym sign.
Yeah, I could have.
if you had loaded the building to see where the gym sign falls on the actual mesh,
then I wouldn't have to do that.
You might have seen that. Okay, well, it doesn't really use that part of the texture, so maybe we don't have to put as much effort into this corner.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Was it converted from another game or something? That could be why it had that sign on the texture, but it's not being used in SimPe.
Yeah, it was converted from City Skylines. So.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
Then the texture might be, like that map might be, from a different... There might be 2 or 3 objects mapped to that texture.
That's true, too. So, this is what, you can... It depends on the texture, but if it allows you, you can just try different colors. So like right here, it looks like these 3 are using the same it's very subtle, but like that's the one I dimmed. So these 3 are the ones that look dimmed, and the rest are
you only dimmed one of them.
But yeah, I didn't know how that was laid out. Again, that would be great with that mapper to see what, because like I would have just assumed it'd be like light dim, like I don't know how those really apply. So, but yeah, because that's what I did on like these apartment buildings and office buildings. The whole texture is on there, so I could pick and choose which lights to make look on and off. But on these ones, like ones where it's all lit up, those windows are separate TXMTs. They're like the background is like not a part of the window texture for the light up state, so they're all on. So it just depends on what hood deco you're doing this to.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. I mean, it's cool, but it doesn't look realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, if everything is consistently lit up, then it's just not. That's not how buildings are. I mean, you've got some lights on and some off.
That's true. So I'm not really sure what the execution resolution for those type are, unless you somehow make the windows into the background texture, because these have a lot of different TXMTs, and I'm just not that advanced to really know what to do, and I would rather have it all on than all off, because they were all just all off. So yeah, it just depends. Like, and I think that's what happened.
Do they all
with
pull
these
from the
Maxis
same
ones.
texture, though? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the windows are its own like texture. So you either, I think on this one it was just one, but like on this one there was three, the same three. So, and it bugged me out when it was just like a whole pattern of on off on off on off on, like all the way across. Like that looked more natural than, to me personally, than having them all just on.
Yeah. I guess it's something you'd have to like actually go in and look at how it's mapped and figure that out on the texture.
Sounds like a complete remap to me.
Yeah, I think that would have to be because yeah, like these I didn't do the Maxis buildings, but I think the Maxis buildings have the same issue where they're all pulling from the same, like if you open the texture, it's just like one window. So you can choose to light up the one window or not.
Right, but then like if you black it out, then all of the windows are off.
Yeah, it's
That's
either all on or
kind
off.
of a pain.
Yeah, so those ones, yeah, it just, you light up at your discretion. But okay. That's pretty much it. Is there any other questions about lighting up hood deco? I'm not the most knowledgeable. I just learned how to do this like 3 months ago based off like steps. So I'm not the most knowledgeable about the technicality behind it. I just know this is what you do to make it work.
I think it's a global.
Yeah.
I will have to do more research because that's like, I mean, aside from the explanation was really good if you're, say, a low to intermediate level object creator. This is a really good tutorial for that. But yeah, it just like it gives me a lot to chew on. Like, how is it doing that? Because for everything that changes state, like counters that go from clean to dirty, or lights that get turned on and off, there's a behave that controls that state. So it's like, where is this?
Yeah, I think it's global. So like, for example, I started on this one and I was just doing random light up areas, and this one like uses like the same panel. So like if you color this panel on the texture, all of them
It's all
are
black,
gonna be like,
yeah.
they'll all have to be lit up. But like
It all depends on mapping.
yeah, the way it was mapped, like this one, there's like a row of 3. I did the middle, so you have that pattern where only the middle light's on. So I'm probably just gonna go color the rest of that because I'd rather have them all up in a pattern. Cool.
I thought it was going to be a lot more complicated than this. This actually looks like doable for me.
It's pretty easy once you get in the hang of it. Like I can like probably crank out 5 to 10 within like 30 minutes. If you know, if the coloring's pretty easy. The coloring takes the longest, especially there's like a lot of little things to color. But the SimPe setup is pretty fast once you get the hang of it.
You add one subset and you're done.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a lot more configuring in SimPe and like work with lighting files, and I have no idea how to do any of that, but I can edit textures, that's for sure.
Yeah, you just the other tedious part is like copying all the names into the right TXMTs, but
yeah, I'm used to doing that, like
okay.
when you text reference flows or anything like that.
Okay, so that's how you light up and make your city like go from light to dark. I don't have my water texture on, that's why the thing's black, but yeah, looks pretty good. It looks more alive. Makes your city look more nightlifey.
Yeah.
Yeah, super fun. All right, if there's no more questions, that concludes this workshop. Thank you for joining.
Well, thank you, Rachel. That was a really informative workshop.